least
yeah.
that's what they say.
That's what
They say.
We
You
look
never
at
know.
apathetic enthusiasm.
Strawberry flubber blur blur blur.
Last live just now.
Last live just now.
Man, dogfights, dog whistles, and particle beams. I
Just
don't.
now.
I don't even know what the dog whistles part about that is.
Good news is we're going up against Monday Night Football, just like every Monday. Competing for those ratings with Monday Night Football. I feel like maybe our viewers are not huge.
Well, Sire Dark might be watching Monday Night Football right now.
He could be. Never know.
I think he's a big football guy.
Big foosball guy.
Old Sire Dark is.
Yeah, he just keeps us on the phone, onto the side.
Yeah.
On mute.
On mute. Okay, I think I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Let me just send a text to Sizemore since he's around. We started.
Yep, we're women now.
We started. I sent him a message on Facebook Messenger. We started.
I'm too tipsy for this. Love you guys, though.
We talk about you're too tipsy for this.
Tipsy.
No, you get it.
Tipsy's the perfect way to enjoy apathetic enthusiasm.
You just get back in here. We haven't talked. We haven't talked to you in forever. You don't send us messages to our Instagram anymore. You don't hang out. I don't know if you've ever had a conversation. Hey, Punkerman, yeah.
Should we start?
One of them.
Wait, what?
One of them hanging out, huh?
I could kind of hear myself echoed back.
Oh shoot!
But it was only in a moment of true excitement.
So. Yeah, that's probably my bad. That was probably my bad.
It's okay. It's fine. Did you start recording?
Oh no, I didn't. You want me to start recording?
Yeah, let's start in like 3, 2, 1.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and from there, I think we just make an episode.
Yeah, why is Zoom?
D Squeeze is hosting our stream. D Squeeze being awesome.
Good old D Squeeze. Fort Polk. That's right. Not Polk fun
with the Polk folk.
Yeah, why? No, you put your left foot in, you put your right foot out.
You stick your whole self in and you turn it all about. You do the polky folky. And then turn right back around. Let's make a podcast.
The polky folky.
The old polky folky.
All right, here we go.
You asked for it. Here it is. It's a podcast from Apathetic Enthusiasm.
On this episode, we're just talking about Star Wars Squadrons. That's all we care about. It's just squadrons and more squadrons. That's what we're doing. Welcome to the podcast.
That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing today. Welcome to Apathetic Enthusiasm, the show that you come to every Monday or anytime you see an update on your podcast app of choice to hear two of the industry's finest oratorial spokespeople for games, for movies, for television, and more. I'm Brandon Cruz, and this is my friend and longtime co-host, Travis Menard. Hey, Travis, how you doing?
Hey, thanks, and what a stupendous introduction. That was fact checkers, 65% true. Good job, Brandon. That's fantastic.
My friend, longtime co-host, the only things that were accurate in that.
Exactly. And we're still trying to get out to the polls to figure out the truth behind some of those. We're less than a month away from the election here in the United States. So we're going to talk about nothing but the election. Just kidding. That's all we're going to say about it.
If you can watch 2020.
Oh, let's check out how these districts are doing. Hey, look at this district. It's one color. What about this district? It's another color. Ooh.
Ooh. The new poll suggests people are in the lead and others aren't.
More at 11. All right. If you want to talk about stuff, if you have thoughts, comments, concerns, hit us up on the internet. We're there like almost all the time. You can find us on Twitter at Apathusiast. I am at Jugglemino. He is at Barnyard Cruise. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/apatheticenthusiasmshow. Send us an email with your thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, apatheticenthusiasmshow@gmail.com, or follow us on Instagram, apathetic_enthusiasm. Finally, this podcast, every podcast, sometimes other things available over at apatheticenthusiasm.com. That is our website. We are streaming live right now to
right this second
at least 3 people over on Twitch at twitch.tv/apatheticenthusiasm, youtube.com/apatheticenthusiasm. So excited to have you guys joining us live for this episode. Chat. Let us know that you're here. Let us know what your thoughts are. Be part of the show by joining us Monday nights for the live streams. And then finally, you can get t-shirts over at TeePublic. If you go to apatheticenthusiasm.com/shop, you can get some of our Rick and Morty shirts and shirts by other great artists as well. Or support us directly at patreon.com/apatheticenthusiasm, where you can get behind-the-scenes pre-show episodes. You can get access to exclusive podcasts, including It's on Random, where Brandon plays random songs from his Spotify playlist. He also has created a playlist with the songs.
Oh my goodness! I have done
that. I don't want to be fact checked on any of this stuff.
No. I did in fact make a Spotify playlist to talk about It's on Random, where I have a bunch of songs on a Spotify playlist that I pull from randomly, and there's a story associated with it, and it's edited with the song. You know, the stories aren't really interesting. Really, it's just a reason to fuck around and make something else. But yeah, that's there. That's thing.
There. And if you listen to this and you think, wow, if these two guys can make a podcast, it can't be that hard. And you're thinking of making a podcast of your own, if you choose Blueberry as your host of choice, you can get a month free if you use the code AEPOD, AEPOD, to get a month free of hosting for your new podcast.
Do it. Well, let's not belabor this point anymore. Let's not hold up the topic of the night, which is, what have you been watching on your television set lately?
What have I been watching on my television set lately? I have been watching season 1 and I'm now in season 2 of The Simpsons. So I have been binge watching some Simpsons. The OG stuff. Doing that all by myself with nobody else around. And then very recently, as in this afternoon, I started watching the American barbecue competition cooking show on Netflix. I don't even know what it's called. Let me look it up.
Yeah, it's like the Great American Barbecue Cookout or something like that.
Yeah, it's
how is it? Because so every once in a while I get a wild hair to say, yeah, I want to watch a cooking competition. And, they have the Great British Bake Off or whatever.
Oh, yeah. GBBO. It's a classic. Gotta love it. I actually do love me some Great British Bake Off. I watched a few seasons of that. American Barbecue Showdown is it is true to form a reality competition show. You have, I think they started with 8 contestants. Unique in the fact that traditional American barbecue takes a long time to prepare. So some of the stuff that they're doing, they're really being challenged because they'll only give them 5 hours to make something, where they would usually do barbecue for 13 hours or 8 hours.
How you supposed to smoke a brisket in 5 hours, Travis?
Can't do it, Brandon. Can't do it.
I don't know how you're supposed to do that.
The other part about this show is it's not a lot of these people are competitive barbecuers. Some of them are just backyard, geniuses when it comes to protein and smoke, but they have to do sides and other stuff too, right? So their first challenge was a combo plate, which was 2 meats, 2 sides, and a bread or something. And so some people that are great at making, pulled pork might struggle a little bit with the green beans on the side or whatever it might be.
Yeah,
Um,
sure. The
so
bread.
the bread. It's one of those shows that for me, I enjoy doing some barbecue. I'm a little bit of a backyard smoker from time to time. Definitely not great at anything.
So that 5 hours for smoking a brisket.
Can't do it. Can't do it. Get out. Get out.
5.5 hours maybe, but that's not even including prep time, right? Because prep time is probably another 30 to 40 minutes. Then you're left with 4 hours and 15 minutes of smoke time. Ain't nobody got no time for 4 hours and 15 minutes of smoke time.
And you don't want that dirty smoke on your ribs. That's what I just learned about tonight. Was like some lady in the show put like too much fire in her firebox. Not enough oxygen getting through, created a dirty smoke, right? And
what the hell does that mean?
It was amazing to me. The judge on this show, there's 2 judges, and one of the judges was looking out at like these 8 little barbecue corrals that they've got, right? She's like, look at everybody's smoke. Look at everybody's smoke. See how this smoke was like a certain color and it's like a certain consistency, but this one's like more white and dense. That's a dirty smoke. You don't want that. That's going to give you a bad taste on your ribs. And in your first 30 minutes, that's where all the flavor is. So, yeah, she's going to have a hard time. And they even like went over and like were like, hey, what's going on with your smoke? And it was an issue in the show, right? Obviously, reality television is anything but real.
Sure.
But it's entertaining, and I'm getting little thoughts and tidbits about barbecue. I want to make more things in my smoker.
That's why you should watch. And that's why you should watch Holy Moly.
Holy moly.
That reality TV show, hosted by Rob Riggle and Joe Tessitore. It's a really good miniature golf show. I highly recommend it. It was on its 2nd season. It just finished up. We watched it whenever it was on. Rob Riggle, hilarious. The great thing about the show, I've talked about it, I think, briefly in the past, but the great thing about Holy Moly is that it doesn't take itself too seriously. The whole thing is Stephen Curry. He's like the course master, and everything
Steph
is just
Curry, the man known for his golf and no other sport that
and
he can
comedy
possibly
ability. None of it's taken seriously. The contestants don't take it seriously. The holes themselves are funny. We laugh every week when it's on. So I do recommend that if you're in the mood for something where it's not like overly Americanized, where everything is so competition based, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest issue I have with game shows and stuff like that here in the U.S. nowadays. Well, having to press your luck, where you just had those.
Can I tell? Can I? You brought up game shows, Brandon.
Yeah.
We are living in a post-COVID reality, a during COVID reality. Let's not propagate the lie that we're past COVID. So I was in a waiting room today, between having portions of my scalp cut off of my head. No details needed there. But I saw a game show on daytime TV today called 25 Words or Less. And it was essentially a board game that you'd buy on the end cap at Target, right? Where you get five clues, right? 5 words, and you have to get your team, which was like 2 C-list celebrities, to guess all 5 of the words using 25 words or less as clues. And what would happen is the 2 sides would bid in how many words they could give all of the clues, right? So sort of like a guess that tune, name that tune sort of situation where I can name it in this many notes, right? But they're like, I can get all of them in 20 words, in 14 words, right? And it goes back and forth. So that's the basic premise of the game. Not too complicated. I didn't watch the whole thing. But the thing that was crazy to me is this was a show that looked very much on the like the edge between something that was like filmed over Zoom and something that was produced in studio, because it looked like it was filmed live or like live to tape, right? So every person was like there and able to interact with one another and make comments and things like that. But everybody was in a separate box on screen. Nobody was ever co-located. But they had like a nice set background, not like I have, here on the stream. And so it was really interesting. Like the lighting was good. They had like these little tablets that they were reading from. So like the production value was just above quality Twitch stream, but well below like flashy game show, right? And it was crazy to me because there was like some audience response. I think it was probably pre-recorded like audience sounds and things like that. But it made me think about like this. Yeah. It made me think about this aspect of media that we're in now, where like obviously production companies are having to like figure out how to navigate COVID and still produce entertainment, and so many people are still staying home, trying to keep themselves or their families or their community safe, and waiting for some of this stuff to pass. And so they're hungry for entertainment. They've already probably binge watched most of the good stuff on Netflix or Disney Plus or Shudder or wherever they're at. And so like there's a demand for new content, but there's also all these like things you can't do, which gets me back to this, American Barbecue Showdown thing, where there is not a hint of like COVID like precautions at all.
Yeah.
So I'm like, are they doing like an NBA bubble situation where they're like, all right, we'll test everybody, we'll make sure everybody's good, then we're going to take you out to this farm out in the middle of nowhere and shoot for a week and just isolate, and nobody comes in, nobody comes out, whatever? Or was this a pre-COVID thing that they taped, and then they're like, this is, I'm not sure if this is great, and they're like, get the barbecue show out there, we need more content.
Yeah. Like those people are like 5 years older now. And they've been waiting to find a lull in all the cooking shows.
Children have been born and are starting online learning, and their parents were on a barbecue show back when Netflix was.
Put it in there. Just put it in there. Yeah. I mean, I was talking to Chelsea. I forget what we're watching, but it was something that took place in the 50s or the 60s, right? And I looked over at her. And, they're all in a bar or whatever, and everyone's really, really close. And, like, when you're watching something, do you just look at it now and be like, man, they're really close to each other? And she's like, no. I'm like, I think I have, like, weird mask PTSD when it like, I'm like, no, those people should be really far away.
I know. I'm like on watching TV, and I'm like, wow, this is a Supreme Court nomination gathering. Huh? Wow, those people are really close together.
They're really close together.
That seems irresponsible. Anyway, yeah, D-Squeeze talking about burnt ends. Heck yes. I had some brisket recently with some phenomenal burnt ends, and it makes me very eager to try to make a brisket. But like that is like the peak, right? Because for starters, to buy brisket, it's an investment, right? Like you gotta spend some money on a good piece of meat.
You have to.
And if you mess it up,
you have to. If you mess it up, you have to start from scratch.
Could you imagine having like to eat pounds and pounds of bad brisket because you messed it up, and you're just like, I spent so much money on this.
I wouldn't. I would throw it away.
Well, some of us are not just flippant self-made millionaires like you, Brandon.
And then I'd start over again with one of the other hundreds of pounds of brisket that I bought because I was planning on messing it up in the first place.
What a guy. What a guy. Spending all our Patreon money on beef brisket.
Make sure to send us your address. I'll send you some freeze-dried brisket.
Some burn ends. Burn ends are one of my favorite, meat-based things in life. I love me some burn ends.
It's not, they're not meat based. They are meat. It is burnt ends are meat.
I mean, yeah, exactly, meat based. Anyway, what are you watching? You watching anything good right now?
Yeah. We've been watching, been watching scary movies and horror films leading up into October, leading into Halloween. Chelsea wants to have October be a special month, and since we don't plan on trick or treating later on this month, we want to special glam it up and make decorate the house and do a bunch of
Spooktober at the cruise residence.
That's right. This last weekend we watched a movie on Shudder. Not a sponsor. We will be your sponsor if you
just
would
call
like.
us. Send us an email.
But there's a new movie that is out on Shudder, not Host, which I still highly recommend everybody get a chance to check that out on Shudder or wherever you can find movies. Not a sponsor of that insinuation either. But there is a movie called Scary Stories, which is on there now. It is directed, written, and partially acted by a Josh Rubin. And what it is, the story takes place. Josh Rubin he's the main character, and he goes up to like a cabin in the woods to get away from Los Angeles, and he meets a woman up there who just happens to be an author, and he's a struggling writer himself, and she's an established writer. She's a bestseller, and they just both happen to be in these woods at the same time. That night, the power goes out in their neighborhood, and she comes over, and this is where the movie takes off, and she starts challenging him to tell stories because he's a failed writer and she's a successful writer, and so they start telling stories to each other. And what's really really cool about this movie that I really enjoyed was it's a movie about these two people telling each other scary stories, but it doesn't like flash. They don't start telling a story and then it flashes back into like, if they're telling a story about a werewolf, it doesn't go to a different scene where they're in Victorian times and the werewolf is going on. The guy is telling the story about a werewolf, and as he's telling the story, there's sound effects that are, it's like me telling you a story, yeah. But if I tell you that I'm creeping along the stairs,
almost like an old timey radio play, like
exactly.
So they're not actually cutting away to reenactments of these stories. It's just the actors in a hotel room telling the stories to each other.
Yeah,
with added like sound effects.
Yep.
And it's really interesting.
It is
probably a lot cheaper if you think about the amount of budget they probably needed to make the movie.
Yeah, and that's the thing though, because the way it's edited, they edit it in such a way where it is legitimately creepy at times, and like the stories are fairly decent, but it's all about like he's not a great writer, and he's not great at coming up with ideas, and he just kind of struggles with it as it goes, and there's no deeper meaning for his stories, and he kind of has lots more pop culture references in the things that he does. So it's basically like me writing a story, and she is like she's like, oh no, that's too cliche, or like maybe what they're trying to say in this point is like looking for deeper meaning in a story, and it's really really good. Chris Redd from SNL is in it for a brief period of time, I highly recommend it because it's not a a story that it's not a movie that you can't show your kids. Well, you probably shouldn't show your kids.
I probably wouldn't.
But like it's not a slasher. There's no blood. Well, there's a little bit of blood, but it's not it's not it's not like a it's not a ghost story. It's you just I highly recommend watching it. My son, my 8-year-old, he watched it with us. He was scared from it. And again, like it's just these two people with a third person randomly, and that's it. So, go out, check it out.
Check it out. My family watched Hocus Pocus.
Ooh.
You know, so that's about our level of Halloween hype. Before we move on to the main story,
you saw that?
Oh, Witches remake coming to HBO Max just before Halloween. What's her name? Lead actress.
Reese Witherspoon.
No, with a knife. Witches remake. What is her name?
Marissa Tomei.
No, I
Alicia Dusku.
She's in the. Is it Princess Diaries?
No,
not $1 Million Baby. That's a different one.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway is the lead in that film, the 2020 remake of The Witches.
Oh, Princess Diaries. For some reason, I heard the princess, and I missed the second half of that. I'm like, I don't even know what the name of the actress in Princess Bride is.
Oh, no, not Princess Bride. Anyway, moving on. One quick thought before we talk video games here. You're talking about making October special, probably not doing trick or treating. Is that a community decision where you guys are at, or is that a Cruise family decision? Because we're kind of still waiting to see out here.
It is a combination of both. Around the HOA, they are saying, well, even if they tell us we can't, who's stopping us to say that we can't? Say
this is America. We'll trick or treat if we wanna.
So regardless of that, though, I would say that we don't plan on no matter what. Like Florida, as you know, is just open. They're like, damn it all. I'm DeSantis, and just open it up.
Nebraska's pretty close to that. I mean, we got some different mandates and things happening, but they're pretty open as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I could probably go to the store, buy as much candy for about the same amount as I would anyway, and just give it to my kids.
That's right.
And then we can watch movies, and they can dress up if they want, and we can have a little party, and call it good. Not like a large super spreader party, but just like a small internal family party. Not some sort of event that you would have indoors with a lot of elected officials. You don't want to do anything like that. You just want to keep it safe and keep your numbers small.
Keep it safe. At the most, drive around your neighborhood with a mask on and just wave to all the other trick-or-treaters.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it is time for the main story. We hinted at it at the opening, but we are talking about Star Wars Squadrons. This is a new video game, ladies and gentlemen. If you are not into video games, you should be, because this game is amazing. Star Wars Squadrons came out this week, October 2nd, I believe. It is developed by Motive Studios, published by Electronic Arts, EA Games, and it is a Star Wars flight simulator game, and quite possibly the most fun I've had on my computer in a long time. I'm having a whole heck of a lot of fun with this game. Brandon, we've talked a little bit. Have we talked about this at all on the show before? I feel like we've at least hinted at it.
For sake of argument, I will say that we mentioned it, said maybe it looks cool, and then we never said anything about it again. Mostly, I'll say this mostly because a whole lot of information didn't come out about the game until a week before the game came out. Because leading up into maybe the last couple of weeks, I wasn't really tracking it. And then Sizemore was like, "Oh, I pre-ordered Squadrons already," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, cool." I think I
spot on impression, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. And I wanted to know more about the game before I would put any money towards it, even though the game is cheaper than a lot of AAA games that are out there right now. And so I was on Reddit. I was looking for news articles, and every article I saw was from like July. There weren't any updated articles going into the middle of September, and I'm like, can you tell me more about this game? And then eventually it started to trickle out that it's it's more it's and we'll talk about it. It's not to the level of simulator as we've talked about Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Yeah.
And it's not so low that it's just super arcadey either. And so I saw that, and I'm like, okay, all right, I'm getting a little excited about it. And then fuck it. Yeah, I bought it and then I preloaded it. And then I changed my Xbox to New Zealand time so I could play it early.
What a guy. Yeah, I feel like we saw that like announcement trailer several months ago, and we're like, this looks really cool. You're going to be able to team up with 5 people and fly Star Wars battles together. But there wasn't much more than that. And I think part of the reason is what you see is what you kind of get with this game. There isn't that much to it. The thing about it is the thing that it does pretty dang well. So I don't feel like it needs to be much more than that. I mean, this game has essentially 3 major gameplay elements to it. There is a single player story that actually bounces back and forth between rebels and Imperials. I guess they're not. It's like New Republic is technically what it is. The story takes place after Return of the Jedi, just after Endor, and then about 5 years after that. So, yeah, you get to play for both sides. The prologue, like the intro to this game, is like 40 minutes, depending on how well you play it. But it does give you a pretty good introduction into how to play the game. Aside from the story, you also have some multiplayer. You can play in Dogfights, which is basically 5-on-5, just first to 25 kills wins. And then there are the fleet battles, where it's a little bit more objective based. There are 2 sides. There's I don't know. Can you explain the fleet battle a little bit better than I can, in terms of like taking ground? And you say ground, but you're in space. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So dogfight, that one's easy to explain. That's just standard deathmatch, 5v5 up to 30. Okay. Cool. Get that out of the way. Fleet battle. That is the ranked mode within the game. That's how you gain ranks over time and get a lot more experience, a lot more points to level up your craft. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But fleet battles are basically your objective based mode of squadrons. And think about it like this: you have your capital ship on one side, the Corellian. I don't think that's what it is, but whatever, the Corellian cruiser on one side, and then you've got the Imperial Star Destroyer on the other. The goal is to destroy the other team's capital ship, and so they're one side of the map, the other side of the map. Then right in front of that, there's two other cruisers that resupply your team. So the Imperials have a two cruisers. The Rebels, just say Rebels just for sake of ease, have two cruisers. And then in the middle is the kind of the neutral zone. Now, in order to attack the cruisers or the Imperial Star Destroyer or the other side, if you're the Imperials, you destroy the other team's ships. There's some AI ships that are just kind of like fodder, just TIE fighters that don't really do anything. But then you have the other kind of ace pilot, the other pilots on the other team that are very, very they're much stronger and you get more points for killing them. Whenever you kill somebody on the other team, it moves a bar that's on top of the screen, and that it's basically your morale and your momentum. And the more people you kill, the more momentum you get to go press the attack on the other side of the map. So you kill enough people, and you get your momentum, and then it takes you to the two cruisers that you have to destroy. Once you destroy those cruisers, then it allows you to go attack the Imperial Star Destroyer. Well, then the morale starts changing the more you die, and then they can press the attack on your cruisers and then your Corellian ship. And then eventually you destroy one team or the other. Now, the cool thing about the when you get to like the Imperial Star Destroyer, for example, there's different systems on the ship. So they have the shield generators, they have the targeting system, and they have a power generator. Power generators underneath the destroyer, the targeting system on like the bridge of the ship, and then you have, of course, the shield generators, which are on the two balls on top of the ship. It basically, think about it, it looks like a penis. It's a weird space penis. But
Thanks,
anyway,
George Lucas.
Thanks, George Lucas. That's essentially what it is. That game mode takes a long time per session, depending on how good your team is. You can play that one versus AI. So four of your friends can get together. You can play with AI against AI, and find out that mode and still level up. But that is it. That is Fleet Battles in a.
Yeah, we played. I think we played one test round, and just did just horrifically. And we're like, we need to practice more before we do this. Let's talk very briefly about some of the ships that you can fly in this game. On the Rebel side, you of course have the go-to X-Wing. You can fly an A-Wing. There is a Y-Wing, your big bad bomber, and then a U-Wing, which I was not terribly familiar with prior to this game, but it's there. You can use that. That's like I don't know the use of the U-Wing. I'm assuming it's a fleet battle thing.
It is. So real quick, some chatter in the comms on Twitch and YouTube. My brother Brett, who's played with us a couple times, mentioning that it's like League of Legends in space. If you are a fan of League of Legends, the fleet battles are accurate in that sense, where there are a bunch of mobs that mean nothing, but they give you points to kind of press the attack, and then they go back and forth. Yes. Then Matt mentions frigates. Yes, I think they're frigates, not the cruisers, and Imperial balls. Hold it. That's the emoji that we always do. Hold it. Okay. Now back to what you're saying, Travis. The U-Wing, on the Imperial side, they have the Reaper, the TIE Reaper, and those are your support ships. Now they are, I think, better for the fleet battles, but they're support in the sense that they can like shoot repair modules. They can give you more ammo. They can block the radar of the enemy ships. They can do a couple other things. They can mark the other enemy ships, which deactivate their ability to dodge missiles, and gives you increased damage against them if you're an ally. So they do a lot more stuff like that, but they're very, very slow, and they can get torn up really easily if anyone's paying attention.
Yeah, it's interesting like you think about a game like Overwatch or something like that, a competitive game like that, where you have to have a balanced team with supports, with high DPS, things like that, to be successful, especially at a competitive level. I'm curious if there's going to be any balancing to this game where like people are going to play supports a lot more to try and like are people going to get those good team comps together to be stronger in these multiplayer games, or is it just going to be like, just everybody jump in a TIE fighter and let's go? Like we'll just hit them with firepower. So,
well, I think with the support ships, I think that I've already seen some rounds that they really make or break a fight if they're there and they know how to play. I whenever I'm playing a round, I'm looking at the enemy composition. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's why they're kicking our ass.
Yeah, or they're like 10 levels higher than everybody on your team. That's another thing maybe. All right, so you talked momentarily about when the information was coming out about this game and you were doing a little bit of research about the difficulty of this game, that it's not quite at the level of like a Microsoft Flight Simulator. This game is not easy per se. It's not arcade level flying game like you mentioned. There's a lot of things you can do with a ship, and there's plenty of things to kind of keep track of where you can, I mean, my son flew around in an X-Wing in practice mode for like half an hour and had a blast. But to really sort of take full advantage of what all of the different ships can do, there is a little bit of a learning curve to this, which I kind of think is great because it adds to the difficulty, but also kind of adds to the realism of the game as well.
Absolutely, we've been playing pretty exclusively on the Rebels side, because we're getting used to the ships. I think you stick with the X-wing mostly. I stick with the A-wing mostly, unless I'm doing fleet battles, and I'll switch between that or the Y-wing or the U-wing, the Patrick U-wing, and I know Matt is like, I'll just stick with the X-wing, and we stick with them because there's one, you get used to the handling of a certain ship, and then you don't want to move away from it because, okay, I'm still getting better with the controls of this ship, and then you start adding things to it, adding modules and stuff to it, like different weapons, different missiles, primary and secondary countermeasures, different engine, different hull, all that type of stuff, and then like, okay, well, now I have to figure out this, and the control on this on the A-wing is a little bit different now. Okay, well, oh, I'm not as powerful, etc. That there's stuff to practice and there's stuff to perfect. That there's the replayability is in that, and we have not played on the Imperial side yet.
Right. So there's a whole other like hangar of ships that we haven't even really started to get used to. I'm at a point in the story mode where I'm playing the Imperial side, so I'm getting a little bit more used to like flying a TIE fighter. It is really interesting. Like an X-wing has shields, right? A TIE fighter does not have shields. So you have to do power management in this game, and you're flipping between your shields or your lasers, your speed. You're only flipping between speed and lasers in an X-wing or in a TIE fighter because you don't worry about shields. You just hope your hull can hold up. So those aspects are really cool. I want to talk a little. I mean, I don't want to intimidate anybody by saying like, oh, you're gonna have to spend 4 hours learning how to fly one of these things before you start to really feel like engaged in the game. That is definitely not the case. I feel like they've definitely found a sweet spot between being able to jump right in and play, and then building on those basic skills over time so that you can continue to improve. When I first launched Microsoft Flight Simulator, I was like, oh geez, I don't even know how to start this thing. I barely got through tutorials, and I was frustrated. So this is definitely a game where it's a lot more fun, and because of the multiplayer aspects, you can play with your friends. It has cross-play, thank goodness. So someone like you who purchased it on the Xbox can play with someone like me who purchased for PC, and we can all jump in a game together and have a good time. There are some differences, I think, probably between at least the controls for like a PC or Xbox. I want to know, with that controller in your hand, how do you feel the controls are for the game? Do you have any like things that are particularly tricky or stuff that was harder for you to get used to?
I have nothing. I mean, I don't have a HOTAS, or however you say that, set up, right, with the throttle and the joystick, that big ass thing. Uh, I would say that there are some things that are probably more streamlined on the controller in order to like if I flip my shields from front to back or center them, quickly switch between power. So if I'm in an A-wing, I'm put it full on engines. I charge up my engines so I get some speed. Then I switch it over to shields to overclock my shields, and then switch it to weapons when I'm about to get into a fight. Get out of the fight, then switch it back between one of the two. All with a directional pad. Sometimes to do that, I have to I take my thumb off of the left thumbstick to go down to the directional pad. And like in the middle of a fight, that means I'm rolling, and all of a sudden I'm like, nope, going straight, switching power. Okay, now I'm rolling again, right?
Mm. Just having a limited number of inputs on a controller, you're limited in that way. So the same as someone might say for like a shooter on console. Sometimes there's limitations with two thumbsticks versus a keyboard and mouse.
Yeah. But for the most part, I have enjoyed it. They've there were a few things that I didn't realize you could do, just with the different inputs, like switching the shields. Matt told me like, oh yeah, if you want to switch your shields forward, then you hold X and then you press forward, and you can remap that to where you double tap the X and then it puts it forward automatically. You hold it, it centers it, and then you tap it once and it goes to your rear, which is good for like if a Y-wing and I'm approaching the destroyer, double tap, put the shields forward, and then go after a shield generator or whatever. But yeah, this is what we say, like, where there's a certain level of complication, but it's not overly complicated, because even if you don't know that stuff, you still know that right trigger shoots, and
Yeah.
But how about you? I'm not on PC, so I don't know how the controls work for you.
I have spent way too much money on frivolous things. So on my PC, I already had, what is it, a T-Flight X or something, HOTAS, dual joystick, flying thingamajig. And of course, I have an HTC Vive. We've talked about VR on this before. So I am going all in when I play. I've got my joystick set up. I've got my VR headset on, fully immersed in this game, which we'll talk a little bit more about VR in a minute. But one of the challenges is I'm not playing flight simulators all the time. So when I pull the control sticks out to set up, I don't have memorized all of the buttons on them. I don't know which numbers correspond to which one. And wouldn't you know it, I have a giant set of goggles on my face blocking my vision. So there has been a little bit more of a learning curve for me when even in the in-screen like prompts that are like, hey, hit number 4 to launch your secondary, weapon. And I'm like, which one's the 4? And then I'm like, okay, there's 4. Okay, got it. And then it's like, to boost, press 9. And I'm like, it's on the front of this one? Wait, what? So I had to learn the controller along with learning the game. And then even still, the control sticks that I have are not fully optimized for this. There are not quite as many buttons on this one. This is a cheaper set. So there are a couple of inputs that I had to map the same way you do, where you have to like double click something to get the combo inputs on them. But by and large, it's working really well. And I'm learning as we all do. There is a nice little like directional trigger on the main control stick, which is excellent for power switching, because I don't get any of that delay that you have where you have to switch to something else. I can go right into a roll and switch power and things like that at the same time. But that's
super handy.
The thing that's really killing it for me is the VR support in this game. If you have access to a VR system, and caveat, you do not get incredibly nauseous while playing motion-based video games, because I know that is an issue for my co-host. Highly recommend.
Looking at the back of the screen here.
Highly recommend playing this game in VR. It is so immersive. Even like the between missions type stuff in the story menu, where you're like in the hangar, you can go look all around all sides of your ship. You can interact with other members of your squadron. You can
hold it. That's an emoji.
But like even in that, like when you're in the briefing room prior to a mission, like looking around inside some of these spaces, like you're at eye level with some of these other characters and things like that. That's great. But then when you plop down into that cockpit and you're in an X-wing, right? And you can really just look straight up and look out of the sunroof, turn your head side to side and look all around you. It's pretty spectacular. And there have been a few moments in the game where I'm like, like doing a hard, like, pushing straight up and then like kind of weaving between bits of space junk or something and then rolling around. I'm just like, this is the nerdiest and coolest thing all at the same time, spinning through, practicing my drifts over the commandeered,
that's right,
the Star Destroyer, which I did finally figure out how to drift yesterday, I think.
That's a cool thing. Matt is asking it in chat. He gets a little sick playing VR games where he has to manually walk around. How does this compare?
So I have had that too, and VR sickness is like very common, and especially in games where you control like how you walk around, and the speed in which you walk around. I personally do not tend to get sick in games where I am in some sort of vehicle. Especially if the vehicle is like pretty standard, like we have some like roller coaster simulator type games. Don't really have an issue with that. Brandon's already like gagging thinking about it. The times that really get me is when my brain thinks one thing should happen and something else happens. So the first time I got really sick in VR, it was at like a trade show, and I had the VR glasses on, and somebody else was controlling my movement using a directional pad. And I turned and looked behind me, and at the same time, the person pressed forward on the directional pad. And so I was looking backwards, and my body went forward, and I immediately was like, no. There have been some like really early alpha versions of like PUBG ripoffs in VR where you could like free movement to run around, and I like couldn't hang. But I had a tinge of motion sickness early on in this game, but I don't think that my headset was really dialed in just right. Since then, I have really had no problems in this game with VR sickness. And I think a huge part of it is, one, they do a really good job keeping the motion smooth inside the vehicles. There's a lot to kind of ground you in the vehicle in terms of the cockpit. So especially in like a TIE fighter, like you basically are just like looking out of a giant window. But yeah, I haven't had any kind of like lags or clipping where I feel like I go to look one way and it's not keeping up with me or something. So for me, I haven't really had issues with VR sickness. For other folks, if you do have issues with that, I could see why it would be a problem. But yeah, it's so cool. It's just so cool flying around.
Brett mentions that it makes him less sick than VR chat, and he thinks it's because the cockpit is staying still that it makes him less nauseated. Oh, which yeah, I could see that, where you're in space and it's weightlessness as it is. So because you're in a cockpit and you are hypothetically strapped down, that maybe that would lessen it for me. I have a PlayStation 4. I debated for a long time if I was going to get on PSVR. I ultimately decided, I'm like, just get it for Xbox because it's easier to chat with Matt, be easier to chat with Travis than having to deal with the voice chat across the PlayStation, whatever it is that we have.
And they're always iffy about like crossplay anyway. I'd be a little nervous just to make sure that it was working with, which I haven't heard any problems with PlayStation players, so I think it's just fine.
But I do want to say, as just kind of like a last comment, I think to bookend all this stuff on that crossplay stuff. I'm playing with you. You're on PC. Brett is on PC. Matt is on Xbox with me. There's D Squeeze just mentioned that he has it on PlayStation. Like all of us can play. I was playing with Brett and Matt earlier today, and it's just it's so fun to and you feel like such a badass sometimes when you're like weaving in through shit. And I put a clip from me and Brett having played last night where I came up from behind, I got an assist on took out a ship, and then I went around an asteroid, and then I drifted, I boost drifted, and like flipped around to take some guy out that was chasing after me, and then immediately after that, like switching my power to shields, and then I switched it back to weapons, and then I got some other guy, and I was just like, holy crap!
Yeah. that clip, you look amazing in like just the things you're doing. And there's so many moments like that in the game. I'm not great at the game, but even just like you talk about the fun of it, this is a fun game to play. And I hope that doesn't die off really quickly, because as we talked about, it is a little bit less expensive. There are limitations. I haven't played through the whole story. I hope to do that. There is lots of replayability in the missions, but there is the potential for the repetitiveness of some of the levels, things like that, to maybe make this feel a little bit more repetitive, and it could get old. My hope is that this game gets the love early on to where there is enough support where they can add some new things, whether that's through paid expansions or through just free DLC, new maps, new levels, things like that would really, if this could continue to get developer support, it would just put it over the top.
Over the top. Stallone gives it 2 biceps up. Yeah, it's good. We highly recommend it. A editor's note: even though it's EA, the big complaint is pay to win or microtransactions. No microtransactions whatsoever in this game. You buy it $40. everything that you want is going to come with this game. And the director of the game, was like, that's what we want to give you a whole game. This is it. This is what you're going to get. We may, in the future, far in the future, we may, develop other stuff, but that's not what we're focusing on right now. We wanted to give you something, and then hands off. There you go. This is a product, and I think in that way they were successful.
For sure.
And I can't wait to play more of it.
Yeah,
right.
Let's go.
See you later.
Let's go play right now. That, ladies and gentlemen, is our show. Have a good day, Face, saying they need private matches and squadrons. I could see that. I could see adding private matches would be fun. But you need 10 friends. I feel like. Or at least nine friends.
If you have that many friends, then I can see you needing private matches. But I mean, honestly, if you, me, and Matt are playing a game, and we have two random people in there that they're probably better than AI. We're not talking to them because we're in Xbox Live chat. It doesn't matter if we're with AI or we're with real people, because it's the three of us that are having fun. So private matches, it doesn't matter to me. I made this argument to him a couple days ago because Ace Combat has private sessions, and Ace Combat is a fun game, but it's like one person versus one person doing dogfighting. Boo, that's boring, and we uninstalled the game shortly thereafter. So private to the development that they would need to put that into that, I'd rather they just focus on making the content that they have sustainable and bug free.
2v2 dogfights could be cool. That could be cool. All right, that is our show. If you have any thoughts about anything we talked about, make sure to hit us up on all of the social things we said at the beginning. If you want to play Squadrons with us, send us a tweet, send us an email, because we will probably be playing it over the next week or two. And if you are new to this show, if you just discovered us from Interdimensional RSS, from browsing on Twitch or YouTube, welcome. Thank you guys for checking it out. If you're listening on the podcast version of the show, do us a favor, leave a review, leave a rating, let us know what you think, and it will help others to find this show as well. Thank you guys for doing that. And Brandon, you get the final words.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for having fun. We plan to play some more Squadrons. Maybe tune in. We'll stream it. Maybe one of us will stream it. And until next time, as always, I am Brandon.
And I'm Travis.
Goodbye.
Bye. Stick around.
All right,
stick around. Don't leave. Post show, just for you.
Just for you.
Just for you and your friends. My giant bandage.
Yeah. Yes.
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 Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the show. It's now time for the post show. It's just for you watching live.
What episode number was that?
177.
177. Oh, yeah. Sure enough.
Coming up on. You know what I just realized?
God, we're almost to 200, man.
Yeah, I did not update the stream title on Twitch.
Oh, what did it say we were doing? Oh, interview.
Let's check it out. Stream info. So the go live notification says we chat with Elastical Gomez on this one, bro. We don't. Elastical Gomez is not here, will not be present. But thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being awesome. Looks painful, Travis. Get well soon. Oh, yeah, let's chat about this for a minute. Let's chat.
Let's do it.
It's post show time. Got the cancer taken off my head today. That's why I'm wearing this silly cap, because I have a pressure bandage. Let's just show you guys. Let's show you. We're calling it the Conehead bandage. But this thing is massive, right? Boom. And no issues with getting the old cancer removed. But I had options of having like a hole a little bit bigger than a quarter in my head that I could just like have heal, leave it to fate. Or I could have the doctor go in. I actually have to take a little bit more, but actually sew it up and stitch it all up. And as a guy who doesn't have a lot of hair to cover up here, I thought, maybe I'll have them be a little bit more purposeful with the closure. So yeah, I get to sport this gigantor bandage for 72 hours, you guys. I gotta wear this crap to work tomorrow.
Oh.
But yeah, so that's that. It's the beanie actually kind of feels better because it feels like stuff all over my head instead of just localized on top of it. So yeah. Anyway, tons of stitches in my head. I'm sure I'll share more with you as it heals. But that's what's happening with me. Good news is cancer is gone, and now I'm on the mend. Thank you guys for your support. And yeah,
you did good. You did good. I held your hand the entire time. It was
you messaged with me on Messenger throughout the day as I was bored in waiting rooms watching. What was that show called? 25 Words or Less or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was downloading Squadrons on my second Xbox. And it was taking a long time, but then everyone was like, "No, I need you to do lots of work today, Brandon." So I was amazingly productive the first 3/4 of the day. I was had to review some documents. I reviewed the documents. Had to make some changes to administrative stuff. I made those changes. Had to type up a roles and responsibilities document. I knocked that out real quick. I did all this stuff, and then I'm like, hurry the fuck up, Squadrons, so I can not do any work and do this instead. But then I'm like feel guilty because then Chelsea's in there teaching the kids school, and I'm like, should I be doing this right now? If I'm not working, then I should probably be out of the office, with them. But he's in school. Why would I?
Yeah, you can't interrupt the school day. That'd be unproductive. Yeah, I get that. I haven't done any teleworking in months, so I forget what it's like to be able to sneak in some video games in the middle of my workday. But it happens. It happens. Sober October. Sobertober. I can tell you I have already failed at that. Before I knew it was a thing. So
You got to tell us that before October starts.
I need to know that in September at least.
Besides, isn't it No Shave November? Or that's No Shave November. It's not.
Yeah,
November.
You're a couple months early on that one, bro. Yeah, no, didn't participate in Sober October, and I definitely might need a few beverages to get through this month at the rate that it's going. But get out and vote. However you can, vote early. Do your stuff. Yeah, but if you're doing Sober October, good for you.
Yeah. If you're doing Sober October, if you're doing Sober for all time, because of whatever reason, we support you in that. We know that especially in 2020, a lot of people have been feeling the effects of this year on us, and a lot of us are drinking more, and a lot of us should probably not drink anymore. So more power to you if you feel you have a problem and you are quitting.
I fully support that statement. Also, I'm one of the freaks that got in better shape over 2020. So my wife is giving me a hard time about that. But We all deal with stress in our own ways. Mine was to run away from it, like physically running outside. So yeah.
Well, I can finally start running a little bit more, because I was running probably like once maybe twice a week, and I'm always hesitant because I don't want to get shin splints too bad, uh, but it was also the summer in Florida, and it's
Mm.
hot as shit with humidity through the barometer. It's cooling down now, and I have to get after it before it gets too cold, and then I'm like, oh no, it's too cold. I'm not going to go running when it's too cold, uh, because
Too
it
cold
has to
in
be
Florida? What does too cold in Florida mean?
50s.
That's
Like it,
that is peak running weather. That is
no, man,
that is ideal running weather,
because it
brother.
gets windy and it's like, oh, it's cold, it's chilly.
So
when
so
we
real talk, like we have like running groups at work and stuff, and we're
yeah
like, are we gonna keep running when it gets like super cold? Cause like December, January, it's gonna be like 30s, sub 30s. And are we still gonna run outside? Probably not. We'll probably utilize some treadmills or things like that. But yeah, no, I love running in some like 50s. Ooh, so brisk.
what's the coldest you've run in?
I've run in snow, so like 30s.
Okay, the
My
the
nipples were bleeding. Like, no kidding. I had a light colored shirt on, and there were streaks running down because it was like wet and cold, and
yeah
I do not recommend it. I mean, if
yeah.
you have the right gear, yeah, get after it. Don't be like that couple that has been immortalized in the video clip where they're like, it's perfect running weather. It's actually soft on your feet, and then she runs out in the street and slips and falls on her head. That don't be those folks.
Don't be those.
Um,
I
but yeah,
when I lived in Colorado, I would, I had cold weather running gear, and so I'd run when it's in its 30s. The coldest I ever ran was in Seoul, and it was like bastards bastards making us run at like 10 degrees outside, and I'm like, I don't think this is medically healthy. I don't think this is good for any of us. And like, no, you got to do it. You got to do it, man. Like, all right, but I don't like it.
yeah, yeah. I will say, as temperatures are cooling down in the Midwest, and we are having a Midwest October where the highs and lows are like yo-yoing up and down. It's going to be
Yo
warm
yo
this week. It's
yo
going to be
yo.
freezing the week after. But on those cold days, walking into work with the mask on, unexpected benefit of having those masks is the warmth on your face when
Yeah,
everything else is cold. Absolutely love it.
yeah. We were talking about something else right before the run. Oh yeah. Working out and coming out of 2020 healthier. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Um, I will be healthier. I think. By the way, congratulations to D Squeeze, 9 years not smoking. That's great.
Fantastic. That's great
I
stuff.
I I'm right there. I'm right there with you. Quitting things randomly is what I'm all about, which is why I'm not doing any more Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast. You heard it here first. I'm quitting randomly. Okay, I'll start again. No, I
Okay.
yeah, I quit quitting.
We're
That
gonna we're
that's
gonna be off again on again with that show for at least another 60 episodes.
at least another 60 episodes.
Because I
Um,
can't do that show by myself, Brandon. You got to teach me if you're gonna quit.
yeah, I'll still edit for you. I just
Oh,
won't. I just you just
you're just
have
not, you're not gonna be on it.
the the real
Looking.
the key thing is just make up stupid songs, and people will flock. They'll
Yeah,
flock.
yeah, they will. They will. That. I mean, there's people waiting in the wings to take either of our spots if we ever have to back out of that show.
There's waiting in the wings. No, I mean they're not waiting. They're just doing it too, and they're like, oh, they quit. Oh, boo. Bye, guys.
No, We could get other hosts on this. We are replaceable. Anyway, yeah. What else is going on, guys? No, Brandon's not quitting Rick and Morty podcast. I won't let him. Look. He's doing it right now. Look, he's on the he's on the interdimensional RSS show right now. Look at him. Look at him be on the show.
Look,
see, he's not quitting.
Please shut up, man. Yeah. Let me. We're not gonna get political here, but it's only been a week. It has not even been a week since the debates happened on Tuesday. That's how long this week has been.
Longest week in recorded history.
Yeah. In other news,
remember when the big story was taxes? Remember how long ago that was?
Funny how
7 days. 7 days.
Gosh. Cyberpunk, you gonna get that, Travis?
I want to. I do want to get Cyberpunk. Yeah, it seems like a good game. I got some people that are real hyped about it that I work with. We'll see where I'm at with Squadrons, and I don't know, like fall and winter. It feels like I have more time for games in like fall and winter because it gets cold. You don't want to go outside as much. Everybody's like just kind of inside trying to stay warm, and I'm like, I'll stay warm in front of my gaming PC.
Yeah. Well, you know what I'm most disappointed about so far this September October time frame? I just want eggnog, and I've gone to the store a couple times in the last 2 weeks, and I have not seen any eggnog yet. And it's starting
not even any Halloween nog?
No, and it's starting to piss me off, quite frankly. We have brandy randomly, and we never have brandy in the house. And Chelsea got the brandy for a meal she made, but like, you know, she overestimated the size of the brandy that she needed for this meal, so she got basically like 6 handles worth of brandy. And I'm like, well, I should get some eggnog for it. It's late September. Let's go get some eggnog and put it in. So I went to the local 7-Eleven, and they didn't have it there. I'm like, okay, well, it's probably because it's 7-Eleven. They don't necessarily have eggnog there. Okay, great. I went to Publix, and they didn't have any there. I'm like, okay, all right. Well, maybe I'm a little bit too early. I went a week later to Winn-Dixie. No eggnog there. And I'm like, I'm not drinking this brandy without no eggnog. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have eggnog ice cream in my freezer right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Sheena's purchase, not mine. But yeah, I think she has purchased cartons of eggnog already.
What?
So yeah.
What? Matt says he has eggnog last week from Albertsons. What the hell? Oh my god!
Have you gone to an actual grocery store? Yeah, you said you went to Winn-Dixie. You went to Publix.
Yes.
I've only heard of those in movies, so I don't know that those are real grocery stores.
Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah.
All right. Matt is making fun of me, saying, "Brandon, you're gonna throw up in your shoe." I've told you that story.
It's a throwback story.
That story. Matt, who is is the opposite of me. Whereas if I'm, if we're going Lord of the Rings style characters, I'm like a halfling, and Matt is one of those gigantic ogres in the at the Mount Doom, or not Mount Doom, the Mines of Moria, right? He's basically a big fucker, and I'm a little fucker.
You're just a little guy.
And he poured me big fucker drinks with eggnog and brandy. It didn't end well. Did not end well.
No, it did not.
But Matt also made those big Stouffer's mac and cheese. Did I ever tell you about this?
I
he
don't
came
know if
over.
I've heard of this story.
He came over to our house while we're in Colorado, and he's like, you guys do, you guys are making all this dinner for me, is it, whatever holiday it was. So he's like, I'm gonna make you some food. So he got this big ass Stouffer's mac and cheese, the family size one,
Mm-hmm.
and he bought bacon, and he laid strips of bacon over the top of the Stouffer's mac and cheese. Okay, it sounds like it could be pretty good, huh?
I mean, I like where this is headed.
Oh yeah, hold on a second. Because the bacon wasn't cooked, all the grease and all the fat just like layers over the top of the mac and cheese. Uh, and I'm pretty sure my our stomachs were all jacked up from it for a day or two. But Matt, here's the thing about have a good day face is he doesn't waste food. So even if it's awful for him and there's too much of it, he will eat as much of it as humanly possible. I went to his house one time. He had like a just a gigantic bag of onions, like a 30-pound bag of onions, and he's like, I gotta eat all this onions. I'm like, why'd you buy so many onions? And he's like, it was a discount. Um, and
I got the 30-pound bag discount.
I,
Gotta eat them all.
and I think that night, he had like tilapia or some kind of fish that he's like, oh, I'm marinated it, and
It's just in a bag of onions.
it was in a bag of like just soy sauce, not even like the low sodium soy sauce. It was just a bag of soy sauce, and then we ate marinated soy sauce marinated tilapia with just a whole onion to each of ourselves. Then I think we went to a bar called the Wizard's Nest or something like that.
All
So,
right. Good times. Good times. Well, I'm going to be kind of truthful with everybody. I am getting a bit of a headache. So
Right.
I think we will probably call this post show. Maybe Brandon can be talked into streaming some squad wins later. But for those of you that are not familiar with the game or still wondering what the heck we're talking about, let's go ahead and raid a stream that is playing Squadrons right now. So we're doing a bit of a mix because there's actually somebody V-chatting or V-streaming, whatever that's called. We talked a little bit about this in previous episodes, that they're also playing Squadrons. So I'm just going to look up this. I'm going to write down this random person. They only got like 15 viewers, so maybe we can show them some love as well over in their stream. We're gonna raid these folks. Thank you guys so much for watching, for hanging out, and I'm gonna set up this raid.
All right, yeah. Hey, thanks for hanging out for a little bit longer, everybody. Remember, go to the Wizard's Nest or the Falcon's Roost or the Buzzards.
Yeah,
Buzzard.
not a sponsor.
Buzzard's Roost. Yeah, Lamar, Colorado. It is in the middle of nowhere. Matt did some radio there. It's they have a Walmart. That's their major landmark.
There you go. All right, we are getting ready to raid. Noah, I've never watched this channel before. I haven't watched it now. Random raid. Stick around. Be awesome. Be good to each other. Don't forget to vote. We'll see you next time.
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask. Socially distance. Do all of the smart things that you need to do.
Stay on target. We're almost to 2021.
Stay on target. Okay, we're raiding. Bye.
Hey.
And if you're watching on YouTube, which we forgot about you guys last time, but thanks for being awesome. Thank you for continuing to support us on YouTube or on Twitter if you're watching this on Twitter, because
Twitter.
It goes out there too.
Fuck those guys, right? Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter. Those tweets. But yeah, all right. So how